Okay, so what are we going to do today? Last time we took a look at this logical AND operator, so now let's take a look and see what the logical NOT operator does. Logical NOT results in a true if the operand is false, and vice versa. So, let's bring our code back. And so we know that testbool 2 is false, right? So what can we do here? If the inverse of it, that's what it is. This operator can be used inside the condition of an if statement, right? Okay. So, and there's using x as the variable. So it's saying if x is not true, then execute the statements. So let's see what happens. That's saying, so testbool 2 is false, right? So if that's not true, so this should read testbool 2 as true. It's inverting it. And we'll see on the serial monitor. So it's true and true, and you see that's working. So if we took the inverse of 1 and the inverse of, or let's just say, if we took, so 1 would be technically false. These are both true, right? But 1 would be technically false. So if this is false and if this is true, this is false because it's been inverted. This is true. They're both true, but we look at the serial monitor and you see it's not printing anything. So now that we know the values of 2 and 4 are both false, so if the inverse of 2 is true and if the inverse of 4 is true, you'll see that it will run our piece of code there. And we'll see that come up in the serial monitor here, there, just like normal. Now, so that's how we use this logical NOT operator. And so the next thing that we're going to do is look at this logical OR operator. Okay, so let's put our code back to normal. Testbool 1, and then instead of here we got the pipes, right? That's what we call them, the pipes. And that's our OR statement. And so we know that testbool 1, oh, come on, testbool 1 is true, testbool 2 is false. So this is if this is true, or if this is true, then run the code. So if one or the other are true, if either of the two operands are true, we should run it. Okay, well that's good. Okay, so that worked. So what if they're both true? And if you know logic gates in your truth tables, you should already know what's coming up, right? Because this is a logical OR. So a logical OR means one or the other or both, right? So how do we use this? Bitwise. Bitwise is the XOR. So let's try this and let's see what bitwise XOR is. because this should be exclusively OR. Either one or the other, but not both, right? So if this compiles and runs, it shouldn't run anything, right? Because these are both true, and this is an exclusive OR operator. So let's change this to 2, and let's run it, because this is true, this one's false, and this is exclusively OR. And we're going to see that that's how our XOR operator runs. One or the other, but not both. Exclusively OR. And we can test this again by saying, okay, this one's 4, which we know is false, and this one is 3, which we know is true, as we've declared up above, right? And this is going to compile just as well, because we have one but not the other. We have 3 is true and 4 is false. Does that make sense? So that's how we use a bitwise XOR operator. And we're just, like I said, we're just testing out little things with the language here. We did a not. Yeah. We did a logical not, we did a logical OR, and we did XOR. So we'll come back to these again in the future. We'll see them all over again. But right now we're just kind of getting our feet wet. So, all right. Thanks for watching. We're going to move on to the next one.